So our primary focus and our charter is to drive platform adoption for Microsoft's technologies across students, startups, and developers at large. So the scale of what we do is really US-based, and the audiences that we cover are pretty much everybody who's behind the scenes coding and looking to code. We're actually a 70-plus person team, and in our team we have 6 community evangelists. They're actually spread across East, Central, and West, so 2, 2, and 2. And we have about 50 or so technical evangelists that are based out of the US major metro areas. So pretty much sprinkled all across the US, including Denver, Miami, San Francisco, New York, etc. Our primary mission really is, from a technology perspective, to stay on top of anything that may be cutting edge. So we also have to obviously get a good base of what our own technology is, but we have quite a few experts that focus on open source technology, from VR, machine learning, game development, etc. So if you're excited about any of those things, you can definitely come see Annie, myself, or Randy, and we can connect you with someone on our team, if not based out of here, but based out of somewhere in your geography that could probably help you. That said, let me transition to Annie, who will cover off on what else we're doing.
Hi guys, I'm Annie. So basically, our goal for today is to just get you guys settled with our tools and resources that we provide for students at large and also for hackathons in particular. So this is the agenda for the workshop. We're going to be going through getting started. We have some technical resources that I'll cover. And then I'm going to pass it off to Randy, who's going to go over some demos. He's got some cool ones on our cognitive services APIs and also on Azure machine learning. And then Yesenia is going to close it off with how you can get involved with Microsoft at your university through our various programs. So first off, when we come to hackathons, we bring our technical evangelists. So I don't know how many of you guys have met a technical evangelist, but we have a ton all over the US, like Yesenia said. And they put together this awesome GitHub site that has a bunch of resources for all students. It's microsofthackers.github.io. And you can check out a ton of different resources, including how to get started on our cloud platform, Azure. And also, there's a lot of different examples of projects that they've made, different hacks that they've created, and you can check out like sample code and documentation on how to get started on our different technologies. In addition, it also covers like a complete list of our APIs, which is huge. There's a ton of them. They're great for getting started, for new hackers especially, so we like to highlight that at hackathons, and that might be a good tool for you to highlight as well. Okay, so what else? We bring a ton of stuff when we come to hackathons and when we come on campus, so I'll go through a bit of that for you. So first off, we have cloud. So we do offer cloud for students through DreamSpark at dreamspark.com. You can check that out and check out some resources we have for your students at your hackathons. You can use Azure to run like virtual machines. You can use it for machine learning. You can host a web app or a mobile app. You can set up push notifications. It's super versatile. In addition, we often bring devices. So we'll bring in some gaming devices like the Kinect, which you can use for like motor tracking and stuff like that. We've seen some really cool games with the Kinect. We'll also bring the Microsoft Band, which is an activity band, and it can hook up to different apps on your phone, and it'll work with the Windows, iPhone, and Android SDK. In addition, just in case, we also bring laptops in case anyone needs an extra developer device. Okie dokie. And now I'm going to pass it off to Randy, who's going to go over some cool demos.
All right, I'm going to move down here a little bit. I have a couple of questions I want to ask, make this a little bit interactive. So how many of you like having sponsors come to your events? I mean, physically show up. Raise your hand. Okay. Why? Let's put the money aside. You know, we like money. Money's cool. But that being put aside, what value does having a sponsor at your event add to your event? Go. Logistical advice. Clear, a little more. Okay. Hacker engagement better? Yeah. All right, so it adds legitimacy to the event because if a major sponsor shows up, then clearly there's something cool going on at your venue. Yeah, in the back. Okay, technical mentorship, what does that mean? Why does that benefit your event? Okay, so an attendee who gets mentored by a pro evangelist has a better experience, potentially. Okay, I like that. Anybody over here? Yeah. Yeah, but why do you care about it? I know why I care about it. You're right. Okay, so it's another opportunity to raise the quality of the experience that the attendees get. All right? Anybody else have anything else to add? Sure. Okay, I really like that. The notion is that we're part of the community. We are members of the hacker community. Yesenia didn't mention this, but we run internal hackathons all the time. And in fact, in my role as a technical evangelist, I'm required to attend them and actually produce a hack. So it's part of my annual goal that I have to attend one of these events internally and then work on, our latest technology. So yeah, we're welcome at the event because we're part of it and we have something to contribute just by showing up. Great, thank you for that. Any other thoughts? Yeah. All right, so but why does that help your event? Help him out. Why does that help your event? Yeah. Oh, he was saying that because it gives people more things to work on. But why does that help your event? More diverse hacks. Why does that help your event? Okay, so it just makes the event have a higher level of interest. It makes it interesting for everybody because even if you're not working on it, you get inspired by what someone else is working on. Great. Was there any other thought? Yeah, go ahead. Okay, so that's good because there's incidental conversations that are happening that may not relate specifically to the hack, though that does give you, connections on what the career's like and what are the opportunities in the industry and things like that. So there's just association and stuff, coolness rubs off when you're hanging out with different people. Great. Any other thoughts that are going to kill you if you don't say it? Yeah, go ahead. Okay, so once again, brand association, the value of, having a major sponsor show up, you get brand lift with that. So yeah, absolutely. So those are all great reasons. Now, the problem that we all have is you saw in the opening keynote that the hackathons are growing. They're becoming a bigger and bigger thing, and they're both in size and the number of hackathons. And this presents a problem to a company like name a major sponsor because, quite frankly, there's only so many of these we can go to. I think, Yesenia, how many did we do last year? 50. Now think about, when are these held? On the weekend. Somebody is giving up a weekend every weekend of the year. And in some cases we have, how many did we do in one weekend? What was the largest? 6? We did 6 across the country. Quite frankly, you get burned out when you give up all your weekends. Despite the fact that we adore you, we love hanging out with you, you inspire us. At some point in time, I need a little me time. The lawn's getting shaggy, the neighbors are calling the HOA, I got to get home. And so the problem that we're facing is how can we provide a lot of the values that you just mentioned, but not necessarily have to fly, a couple of hours and then spend 3 days and all of the associated investment, both in time and money, and still add some value to that. And so some of the things that we've done is we put together that website that lists a lot of the resources. So at least when it comes to a intellectual institutional knowledge process, at least we can transfer that. Another thing, how many of you were in the workshop bar camp? How many went to the workshop one, the one on running workshops? Very few of you, quite frankly. Okay, some of you. What was really interesting there was at least one school that says they have vendors or sponsors do Skype workshops in advance. And I thought that was an interesting learning, and I'm thinking, ooh, maybe we could do that, and that helps us achieve some scale. So given that constraint, what we really want to do is to sort of have you put yourself in the position of the sponsor, and what is it that you can do to try to make that sponsor present without having to always have them there. And if you know, we would love to come to your event, but if we can't, what is it that we could do rather than just flying a team out that could still add value? If you think about that, what we want to do is we want to talk to you. We'll personally have an email, get on the phone with you, and we'll chat through, and we'll try to see if there's anything that we could possibly do to engage. Some of your events we'll come to, and we're going to try to come to as many as possible. Even if we can't, please work with us. There's something that we can do to add value. We're delighted to help, and our team is committed to trying to make every hackathon in the U.S. as impactful as possible. And of course, we'd love to see students trying out some of the new things that we have to offer. So having said that, I'd like to walk you through just a couple of the newest APIs and services that we have that could potentially be interesting. And then what I'd like to do is, if we have a few minutes afterwards, come and talk to me and tell me what your thoughts are about how we could, what do you see the advantages of having those resources available? How are we doing on time? Okay. I get involved and then things go kind of crazy. All right. So I'm going to minimize. Let's see. There's a stop presenting somewhere. Pause. There we go. Okay. And close out of that. Okay, good. All right. So Microsoft has if you just look for Project Oxford, that is it's sort of a code name for all of our cognitive services. And a cognitive service is basically a hosted application in the cloud that allows, that recognizes something about the data that you're sending to it, and then can recognize what it is. If we've got quite a list of different APIs. This is the website, and you can see these are a list of the APIs: computer vision, emotion recognition, face recognition, video search, speech recognition, spell check, lots of other different kinds of APIs that are worth exploring. And each one of these, if you want to play around with it, they have demos, and you don't need to install an SDK. You can just play around with it right on your browser. So for instance, here's the face detection one. And you can just open a picture. Let's just select someone here. Let's try this professor right here. And so if you look, here's all of the attributes that the algorithm produced, and it's got a lot of locations. So you notice it mapped the face, and there's a lot of parameters here that it discovered. If we scroll down a little better, we've got some summaries. So here's the face attributes. Age 49.2, it's a male, no facial hair, mustache 0, beard 0.2, so he's recently shaved, no sideburns. And he has reading glasses on. So let's pull another image. Here's a child. And of course, there's all the attributes. We'll scroll down a little bit. And so age 6.4. This is my grandson. It's accurate to about, it's about 6 months accurate. Male, reading glasses, no beard, sideburns. Good job. Now let's try something a little trickier. Let's try this. Okay, apologies. Scroll down and see. Sometimes I get really funny results with this one. Ouch, 62.4 years old. You know the problem with that? It's like, right, yeah. It's not, yeah, not good. Male, that's good. Mustache, 0.1. Yeah, I've always had a problem with that. Beard, 0.1. Sideburns, 0.1. And I got sunglasses on. So I'll tell you a funny thing. The first time this picture has a little banner on the bottom. I don't know how it affects it, but the first time I did this picture, it was just a slightly different view. And because you couldn't see the hair, there was a hat, the sunglasses, and the top was unzipped, it thought I was a 26-year-old female. So I'm glad that they straightened out their API so it's not making that mistake again. And so they actually have a number of other things. So they can verify, are these two faces the same person? That's one of the characteristics that it has. And it can face identification. You've seen that. Facebook does that all the time, right? It automatically will recognize people, so that's not uncommon. But to have the ability for that API is pretty interesting. And they also have facial similarity. So it doesn't say it has to be the same person, but it'll pull people, your doppelganger, some people that look similar to you, which could be potentially creepy, but it's interesting. And this is a free service. I'll just show you that it's free if you're not going to do more than 30,000 transactions a month. But clearly, if you're doing a Facebook, that's a service that could get expensive after a while. And then there's a cost there. So this is just one of the APIs that we have in the cognitive services area that's potentially interesting. We had an internal hackathon last week, and one of the hacks that they came up with actually was an animal recognition. And so if it was a raccoon, turn on the sprinkler and turn on a water jet and scare it away from the dog food dish. Instead, so when the dog comes, it's a dog. Let the dog eat. If it's a raccoon, squirt it with water. And so that's a potentially interesting hack that uses this same technology. And so the idea here is if you're able to have a workshop with these kinds of things, and to the point that was made here earlier, this can add value and potentially drive interesting hacks that are more cutting edge and serve to lift the entire experience for everyone. The next thing I'll just show you, just real briefly, is that's not what I wanted. There we go. I'll show you Microsoft inside of our Azure cloud. One of the services that we have is machine learning, and that's becoming an increasingly powerful tool for prediction, but not only just static data. So you can say, "Oh, here's what's happened in the past. Let's predict the future. What would happen if?" But it also has the ability to do one of the features that we have is streaming analytics. So once you create a trained data set, it can monitor data as it's streaming in and then be able to react appropriately. And this has a lot of relevance in robotics and artificial intelligence, because as you have some kind of sensors out there, You're able to see data coming in and then say, what am I seeing in this environment? You're able to make judgments on what is this environmental factor doing, and then react appropriately to it. And so you can do some very interesting hacks. And since Azure's all hosted in the cloud, there's not a ton of setup necessary in order to use it. Another thing is that our cloud is pretty agnostic, so it doesn't matter what your operating system is, doesn't matter what environment you're coming from, as long as you can get to a node, you can use the services. So it's not required that you have a purely Windows Microsoft experience. You can use it for OS X or Linux or any other operating system that you have. This is the dashboard. The resolution's a little tough on the monitors here, but the way it works is you create an experiment, you bring in a data set, and each one of these blocks is a step in the process. Some of them can cleanse data. You can reclassify data. So if something comes in and it's a serial number, you can just get rid of that column because serial numbers usually don't relate. They're not very predictive. And so you can go through and create different views of your data, different ways of looking at it. And very easily you can go in and look at your algorithms. Let's zoom in on some of these blocks. So here's a linear correlation step. And you could, for instance, change from a linear correlation. You can try different types of statistical analyses to see and plot the different curves under it, and see how accurate the data that you're training with matches your real data, and then try different things until you can get the most accurate predictive model. And it's a great tool, and then depending on the problem you're trying to solve, there's different methods that you can use. And then one of the things you can do, if you look at this block right under here where it says set up a web service, what you can do then is you can create an API. You can go into another dashboard and create an API that then you can call from an application that you're writing, and it will then take whatever the data from your application, send it to that API, and then run it against your trained model and send you back some kind of predictive result. And so that's how you could easily use the model that you'd created and then make an interesting app that did some fun things. Now, let's just take machine learning as an example. So what you would do is potentially, as a sponsor, have a sponsor workshop on Azure. Maybe you would say, here's some videos on how to set up the studio. Here's a particular data set, or we would point to some data sets, and I think on our Ready to Hack we have some data sets. Am I correct on that? So we have data sets in our Ready to Hack already. So in some of the preparation workshops, you could easily do a understanding, here's the data set, here's some things, get set up in advance. Maybe as a sponsor, we could come, if we're at your event, we could, the night before, have a little training workshop. And then we could do a workshop then and shows how to take that API and a couple of simple examples of how you would call that from an app, and then people are ready to go. And so you're using cutting edge technology, and you're able to get your attendees quickly up to speed using a tool that's got a lot of power. And especially for the first year hackers, it'd be a nice soft on-ramp, and they wouldn't feel like they were having to invent something from scratch. Let's go back to our PowerPoint. Good. Okay, so here are some of the cognitive services: vision, speech, language, knowledge, and search. So you'll be able to, these are all have similar types of demo pages, so it's an easy way to get started. And then here's the machine learning placeholder slide. Now what I wanted to chat about now is Microsoft has a student competition called the Imagine Cup. How many have heard of Imagine Cup before? Okay, not so, good. That's more than usual. It's one of our big secrets, apparently. But the Imagine Cup is a technology competition, and it's just a natural segue from a hackathon to the Imagine Cup. Because essentially, the Imagine Cup is student project competition, and there's like a $4,000 prize. We have a U.S. semifinal, and then there's a world finals competition. And we have three categories, three broad themed categories. One is game development, one is innovation, which is just cool inventions, and then the third is social entrepreneurship, social good. And within those categories, then we'll bring 4 or 5 teams to the U.S. finals and give them a lot of experience. At our U.S. finals this past March, end of March, 1st of April, we had 3 teams out of 12 that came from hackathons. And so Microsoft was at these hackathons. We went up to the students and said, hey, this is a great project. Why don't you apply to the Imagine Cup? And not only did they apply, but they were also selected as finalists just based on their hack. And so one of the teams was RecycleBot from Cal Hacks. Anybody here from Cal? Okay. So real easy. They used a Kinect sensor, put garbage in the trash. The Kinect recognizes what kind of trash it is and puts it in the right bin. So nice hack. Pretty straightforward. They used the Kinect SDK for that one. The next one was Team Tactile. Let's see, they came from MIT, and that was it was a text reader, so it would read text in real time and then send Braille to a fingerpad. So that you could basically read any text if you were a partially or unsighted individual. Put your hand on the pad, and it's like a screen reader, but it would read text to you. And that came out of a hack. And that was one of our finalists. And then finally, Gunlock from Hack, Illinois. That was an RFID sensor on a gun, so that if anybody touches the gun, you get a text notification that somebody's tampering with your weapon. So even if you've got it in your safe, if your kids hack this combination or whatever it is, if the gun gets handled, you get immediate notification, so it promotes gun safety. All of those came from hackathons, and the transition from getting them from the hackathon into the Imagine Cup was pretty simple. They filled out an application form that identified their team members. There was a 3-page business plan that talked about how they were going to turn that into a business, because it's not just a science fair. It is about turning it into a real, developing your hack beyond the hackathon. So you have a 3-page business plan. They had to have instructions on how to use it, and they had to submit the team introductory video and the hack. They had to give us a demoable hack of the software or whatever it was. And that was it. And so the opportunities for adding value is essentially any team that uses Microsoft technology, some piece of it can be the cloud, it can be whatever it is, Visual Studio. They have an opportunity to go beyond the hack and then win up to $25,000 in prize money, venture funding, and things like that. So it's certainly something to advertise, to put it on your website. Maybe if your sponsors are coming, we want to make sure you give them a chance to mention Imagine Cup. Talk to us. We'll give you all of the branding and the bill of material for Imagine Cup if you want to put that on your website, just to add some additional value. So we've talked to this. Here's our competition categories. And I think we're going to pass it over to Yessie to finish up with additional ways that you can engage with our team.
So I do want to say, I'm sure that some of you may be thinking, where's HoloLens? So I just want to answer that burning question. Our team does have access to HoloLens. In fact, we have several folks that are also participating in HoloHacks, over the next few weekends. We actually do not know when we'll have more access to the hardware. It's quite backlogged. We're hoping that it will now be available during the fall season, but we don't want to necessarily make any promises since we just really don't know. But you can always keep in touch with any of us, quite frankly, because we will have access to it in the future. So I know we've talked a little bit about who our team is, what we do, and when we come to your hackathon, what we provide. Really what I want to drive home is, if you think about Microsoft, it's not just about like what we provide to hackers or what we provide to organizers. Think of this as taking the relationship beyond the hackathon itself. As someone who deals with a lot of the student organizers, I can say the biggest thing that's oftentimes missed is the opportunity to build that connection that extends and goes longer term beyond the school year. We are accessible for year-round, so once the hackathon is over, I'm still doing events, or I'm still working in the community. So if you need help, you should reach out. So that said, I do want to talk to how to bring Microsoft to your campus, not only as a student organizer, but really as someone who may want to at some point work on our team in evangelism or really with any one of our product teams. The first program is our Microsoft Student Partner Program. I think most of you or some of you have already heard about it. The deadline is fast approaching. It's July 15th. This program runs the full school cycle. So it's not an internship, it's not a summer program. You pretty much are a campus ambassador to Microsoft. The way it works with us, at least, is we typically partner very closely with our student partners to do workshops. You have access to a lot of the technologies that we do. You have access to hardware year-round. If you're a freshman, junior, etc., you literally can be a Microsoft student partner every single year. I'd have to say that over the last year or so, we've probably doubled the size of our Microsoft student partners. So we went from like 50 or so, now we're more than that actually, it's like 200 or so student partners across the US, and it is also worldwide. And then the other arm of that, if you do not have a chance to meet with our recruiters, we actually have Trisha here, still here, but I don't know that she'll be able to stay after the workshop, but if not, you can totally, again, connect with our team. But if you want to work with Microsoft or you want to work at Microsoft either as an intern or potentially longer term as a full-time hire, there are a couple of arms. We have the Microsoft Explorer program, which runs the course of 12 weeks. This is targeted towards freshmen and sophomores. You can always go to the website just to apply, microsoft.com/university. We also have our general internship program. So one is really targeted towards like younger students in college, first or second year. And then for the internship program, we typically target juniors and seniors. Now, if you want to work full-time, there are two ways. There's the official college hire program. So you come fresh out of college, you get to work on our engineering team. That typically is something that our recruiting arm leads. We also have what's called the mock program. And that's the Microsoft Academy of College Hires. That's actually most of the team folks that end up on our team come from the mock program. So I'm lucky enough to get paid to do this, to show up at hackathons and evangelize our technology. So if this is something that you'd be interested in, helping other students hack, you likely would want to apply for the mock program. Annie actually came as a mock hire, so first year out of USC, just started as a community evangelist. So, you know, it's another option if you do want to work with Microsoft longer term. And for those of you who have not had an opportunity to meet your recruiter, it's actually quite easy to find out who your recruiter is. You go to the Microsoft site, you look for your school, and it will say connect with my recruiter. I will say that the recruiters do monitor their alias or their email quite often. The other option is to find out when recruiting will be on your campus. So the schedule's typically posted, so if you don't want to necessarily email your recruiter, there's an opportunity to figure out when Microsoft will next be on your campus for recruiting specifically. So with that, I just want to say thank you very much. I want to strongly urge you all to think of the partnership beyond the hackathon. We are available year-round. We've actually delivered quite a few VR workshops, other technical mentoring workshops across the U.S. So it's not really just a resource as a hackathon, but really as a resource for coaching, technical mentoring, and really if you just want to get an idea about what it is to work in evangelism with our team. So we have some goodies for you all. Let's see. We need to do this in an orderly fashion. Some hoodie pillows and blankets. I don't think it's going to be one of each for each, but you guys can barter amongst yourselves or email me later.
Can everyone just stay in their seat?
So we'll pass them out if you want to stay in your seat, but do you have any questions? We'll take some questions. Anybody? Bueller? All right. You can totally talk to me after. Hello.
So, can you tell us more about the campus expert or campus ambassador, campus rep program? And I don't want to put you on the spot, but can you compare it to the GitHub Campus Experts program and tell us a bit more about that, what it does, what it offers to us as students and professionals?
So I'm not deeply familiar with the GitHub program, so it's not necessarily a tit for tat what offers each. I just think that over the last year or so, I've been with Microsoft 8 years. Our evangelism org is probably just as old, if not a lot older. But what we've done over the last year or so is really spent more time building those relationships through the community and expanding our reach through students. So it is a year-long program. Anyone can apply. And we're just looking to make better investments because oftentimes what you see is a lot of the ambassador programs only focus on brand management. And in our case, we're focusing on evangelizing the technology and providing more of a technical resource. I'm hoping that answered your question.
Any other questions? So this kind of might be off topic, but what is your favorite part about working at Microsoft?
So my least favorite, I'll start there, is I don't have any nights and weekends to myself. I will say that. So I spend my nights and weekends here. But my favorite part is that when I am here, I get to interact with students and really startups at large. And quite frankly, it's a lot more exciting than working at an enterprise company. So.
You okay?
Okay, questions are done. We're just going to hand out these goodies. Thank you very much.
Thank you.